In this video we're going to look at multiplication and division within cells. We've already looked at how to do addition and subtraction using the plus sign and the minus sign or the hyphen. We're now going to have a look at multiplication. To do a multiplication is very similar to the addition or subtraction. We need to start our cell by typing in equals to tell Excel that it's a formula. Then we can type the first number and the second number, and the operator that we are using to tell Excel it's a multiplication is the star. Some people, when they're learning Excel, they make the mistake of thinking that should be an X, because it seems more natural, as that's how you might write it on a piece of paper. But in fact here we need to use the star key. Star key is generally found beneath the 8 key. If you use Shift 8 you will get the star, or if you have a full number keypad you'll find the star above the 9 key. So within this cell I now have an equals to tell it that it's a formula. 5 times 8, I click enter to escape from the cell, and I will see the result comes through as 40. As before, we can have multiplication using constants, just typing in numbers directly, or we can do multiplication via cell reference. So again, just to recap, here we have cells, in this case D6 and D7, that have information in them. So when I type into the formula, I can reference the cells, the location where the information is. Excel will get that information from that cell and multiply it together. In this case, D6 times D7 gives me my answer, as before, as 40. And again, like with addition and subtraction, I can mix constants and cell references. So for example here we have D13 times D14 times 24, giving me the final answer of 960. It is worthwhile covering at this point the order of the calculations. So effectively within my cell I have 3 numbers. The first 2 are in fact cell references, but those cell references will be converted to numbers. And I will cover this shortcut again in more detail as we go through the course. But if I want to understand what value is underneath a cell reference, I can double click on that cell reference and use the F9 key. The F9 key will then convert that cell reference into the number that is within the cell. So it tells me immediately by looking at this value that I am adding together the correct value that I expected to. It's important to understand this is a permanent change. So if you don't want to change it permanently to a constant, you need to use the undo button or the shortcut Ctrl-Z. It is worth understanding at this point the order of calculation within my cell. Using the calculator analogy we talked about before, what we have here is 3 numbers, and those 3 numbers are being calculated in the same order that they would be calculated in a calculator. So we have D13, which is the number 5, D14, which is the number 8, and my constant, which is 24. The order in which they be calculated is the 8 and the 5 first, resulting in the number 40, and then the 40 will be multiplied by the 24, resulting in 960. Now many of you will be thinking, hang on, does it actually make any difference? Well, truth be told, in multiplication it won't make any difference. But when we come to look at division, it will be very important to understand the order of that calculation. So let's do that now and look into division. To perform a division, we'll use the /. This can be found, for example, again in your number keypad if you have a full keyboard, typically besides the Shift key. So if I want to perform the calculation 5 divided by 8, I would go into my formula, type my equals, the number 5, / the 8, telling Excel that I want to divide 5 by 8. And here we have my answer, which is 0.625. Again, I can do the same with cell references, taking my D23 cell and dividing it by D24 cell to get exactly the same answer. And similarly, I can combine cell references and constants together. But like with the multiplication, it's important for us to understand the order of calculation. So here we see the first step in the calculation is 24 is divided by 5. 24 divided by D30. The result is 4.8. 4.8 is then divided by 8, 8 being the next number in the sequence. And that result, 4.8 divided by 8, is what leaves us with 0.6. Note, for example, this is the incorrect order of calculation. In this example, we are starting with the last numbers, or the rightmost numbers, first. That would be equivalent to dividing D30 first by D31, and then taking that answer to be divided by 24. That is our introduction to multiplication and division, and just understanding the order of calculation.